I was out running some errands today. Just normal stuff, the bank, just a couple of stores. And everyone was in a terrible mood. Like, just awful. I don't know if it's the Wisconsin weather or what, but even the Best Buy guy was just snippy. I gotta tell y'all, chill out. It's officially the season of love. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews. I'm your host, John Delray. Yes, this Merry Draftmas to you as we are just on the precipice of the NFL Draft. If you saw on the channel last night or Twitter, whatever, yes, I completed the annual viewing of the movie Draft Day last night. It's officially time to get into this thing. I am excited. So today I wanted to cover just a couple of players that don't meet Green Bay's traditional thresholds. And yet, I wouldn't be shocked if they're picked for the Green Bay Packers for one reason or another, be it a need that the Packers have, trying to fill a void of something that they haven't historically had over the last couple of years, or just because one of these players has such exceptional traits in other areas that maybe the Packers will be willing to overlook the thresholds that they've been stuck so strongly to over the last couple of years. So I've got 3 edge players, 2 wide receivers, and 1 just football player something that I'm going to be talking about. Then towards the end, I am going to spend a couple minutes talking about the Brian Gutekunst press conference today following the official transaction of the Aaron Rodgers trade, as well as just a touch of the Packer relevant news coming from the Aaron Rodgers side of things as he has his debut press conference with the New York Jets. One real interesting tidbit of news that I just want to get out there right away because I know that there is some confusion, that there's people who want to know. There was some Tom Pelissero kind of led people astray when he was reporting on the Aaron Rodgers trade and said that the Packers are going to make some maneuvers to the contract before the trade that would garner the Packers some additional 2023 cap room. Not really. That's not really the case. A lot of what the Packers did is very procedural. He even said in one tweet that the Packers were gaining $14.7 million in 2023 cap room. But the problem is everyone already knew that they were going to do that, and it was already factored into the cap. And Brian Gutekunst confirmed as much in his press conference. So, yeah, kind of misleading there on the part of Pelissero and NFL Network. At the end of the day, the Packers did adjust Rodgers' contract. They switched around some things with the bonus. It was predominantly procedural to make the trade happen. Nonetheless, Aaron Rodgers does have a $40.3 million dead cap number for the 2023 season. And then once we hit 2024, nothing. Nada. Gone. Aaron Rodgers is off of the books officially. So the Green Bay Packers do only have $12 million in cap room as of right now, and the draft is projected to take about 10. So we poor. All right, now getting into the draft, I'm going to talk about 3 edge players first. Okay, and these are guys that, for the most part, they don't fit in the way Green Bay generally does things because they're small. But maybe they make up for it in other ways. And really the fit here is you got Preston Smith, who's pretty big for an edge. You got Kingsley Enagbare, even though drafted last year, large. Rashawn Gary, large. The Packers don't have someone who really is that modern day, sleek, lean, thin edge rusher. And one of these guys could fit the bill if the Packers wanted to go that way and start winning more matchups with speed. So first up, one of the combine darlings, 6'2", 238 pounds, 22 years old, from the University of Georgia, Nolan Smith. Now, Nolan Smith is projected to be a first-round pick, so if the Packers are going to get him, it's going to be more than likely with pick 13. He's a former 5-star recruit coming out of high school, but according to PFF, there were no starting edge players in the NFL last year that weighed under 240 pounds. Now, Smith could have a big meal and get over that threshold, but he still isn't there. He's listed at 238 pounds. And in spite of these ridiculous athletic traits, he's only posted 9 sacks over the last 2 years for Georgia. He needs more pass rushing moves in order to utilize all of his athletic traits. And he's missed time in both 21 and 22 with different injuries. So there's some concern there. He has remarkable athletic ability and truly ridiculous speed. But there's concern that he won't live up to a first-round billing and become a truly dynamic player. That maybe he'll just become a rangy run defender or someone who can use his speed in coverage, but not truly become an impact first-rounder. But he's from Georgia. We know Brian Gutekunst loves the state of Georgia, or at the very least the university that comes from there that shares the G. And he posted a 9.23 RAS. In terms of PFF grading, despite his slender size, over the last 2 years, he had a 90.2 run defense grade in 21 and an 82.4 run defense grade in 2022. In college, he's been able to withstand a lot of the traffic that his size lends natural concerns to. And plus, we've seen over the last couple of years, look at Micah Parsons, look at Hassan Reddick, guys who are smaller be able to be successful still in the 3-4 edge. And Nolan Smith could very well do that. He's shown that his size has not been a detriment in the collegiate game. If anything, it's been an asset. Might the Green Bay Packers still consider him? I think it's possible. I think it's more likely considering that he comes from Georgia and that's basically all we draft in the first round now. But to ignore Nolan Smith and his athletic traits, I think would be a mistake. I don't think he's the most likely pick, but I do think it's possible. Now, moving on to another edge defender, kind of similarly in the same vein, although a little different, would be Byron Young. One of the big knocks is he's not young. He's 25 years old already. 6'2", 250 pounds. He is a former junior college star. But the big thing is, being only 25, the man lacks polish. Yeah, coming from the University of Tennessee, he only played there for 2 years. It's really only his 2 years of high-level football experience. And according to Chad Reuters for NFL.com, it looks like it. That's the big knock on him. That he's got all the athletic tools. While being 250 pounds, he at least comes closer to the size threshold. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a guy who doesn't look like he knows how to play the position. But what he lacks in technique, he makes up for in raw energy and athleticism. He posted a 9.23 RAS, including a 4.440 and a 132-inch broad jump, which ranks in the 100th percentile. In Tennessee, over the last 2 years, depending on how you calculate college stats, which there always seems to be debate about, but according at least to PFF and a couple other sources, both years he posted 7 sacks, so 14 sacks over the span of 2 years for the University of Tennessee, as well as 23.5 tackles for loss. He's projected to be more than likely a third-round pick. He has a very scattered history, let's say, and he's overcome all of it to show out at the University of Tennessee and become a strong edge defender. In terms of going against the run, he does locate the ball carrier incredibly well. He gets off of blocks fairly well. But the big concern is, can you rely on him to be assignment sure? And yes, he is a bit of a project because he has to be taught how to use the tools that he has. He just doesn't have enough experience despite his advanced age. Kind of like the next player I'm going to talk about. If you were to choose Byron Young, there's still a place for him immediately on your roster. It's just going to be a lot more situational and straightforward from the get-go. Speaking of that next player, let's look at another edge player. This is one that the Packers actually had a visit with, someone who's projected as a second-round pick, perhaps early second round, Will McDonald from Iowa State. 6'3", only 239 pounds. The Green Bay Packers generally like their edge players to be about 265 pounds plus. So 239 is well short of that goal. Nonetheless, though, they brought him in for a visit. The big knock on him, he's a pass rusher. That's not a bad thing. But he's not much of a run defender. That's the knock. He's frequently caught out of position. He frequently gets boxed up by larger offensive linemen if his first step doesn't actually accomplish its task in getting past them. He is someone that does need to work on his block shedding. He does have great twitch. He can blow right by them, but if he doesn't, then it's kind of game over. The good, though, he's just a pure pass rusher. He utilizes excellent technique. He's posted a combined 19 sacks over his last two collegiate years, along with both years having at least a pass rush grade of 84 coming from PFF. He was on Bruce Feldman's athletic freak list, coming in at number 5, and he posted a 9.66 RAS, including great speed scores, elite agility scores, and elite explosion scores. If you know about the RAS process, they get numbered, they get scored in all of their different athletic testing, but then different categories, different groupings of the testing get put in with this adjective of good, great, elite. And so he's got great, elite, elite. He has a ridiculous motor and just great technique, excellent hand placement as well. Even if he's undersized, if he can shore up the rest of his game and learn to become a little bit of a run defender, he could be impactful on modern defenses. His NFL comp, according to most sites that I found, the one that I seem to like the most too, is Bruce Irvin, who, again, was a great pass rusher, but at times would blow right past his assignment in pursuit of the quarterback. And Will McDonald might do the same. But nonetheless, talking right off the bat, day one, you've got yourself a situational pass rusher. No doubt about it. Is that worth an early 2 pick? Potentially, if you believe that you can shore up the rest of his game and he can become that prototypical modern day edge. Moving away from the edge players now, I'm going to take a look at 2 wide receivers. Now, these wide receivers don't exactly fit Green Bay's normal thresholds. What do we know that Green Bay likes? We know that Green Bay likes really good 3-cone times. We know that their wide receivers generally have to be at least 6 feet tall, something like 195, 200 pounds, somewhere in that kind of range. And then they also like to have a lot of versatility, including run blocking. Matt LaFleur likes guys that he can put in the slot, outside, whatever. LaFleur wants that adaptability. These guys don't have that. Let's look at number 1 at Jalen Hyatt. Now, the Green Bay Packers are rumored to have very strong interest in Hyatt. 6 feet tall, 176 pounds, and here's a good thing, this fits with the Packer way, only 21 years old. He's a Biletnikoff Award winner last year, but the thing is, he's little, 20 pounds under their typical threshold. He's also a limited route runner, coming from the University of Tennessee. On 87% of his snaps, they put him in the slot, and he was pretty much their go receiver. In fact, his PFF grades get better and better the deeper down the field he gets, which is just odd. But nonetheless, if you're looking 20 plus yards down the field, most of his grades come out at 99 plus. In college football, he was the best deep receiver in the game, and I don't think that's an overstatement. So, what you're losing in size, you might gain in pure speed. He did have a RAS score of 8.74, including a 4.440. And it's not like that's Chris Johnson's speed, right? It's not like that's John Ross' speed. It's not like that's the quickest 40 ever. But the thing is, if you go back and you look throughout college, he seemed to play his fastest and his best against some of the best secondaries in the country, including a 5-touchdown game against the University of Alabama. He also led the country in quarterback rating when targeted last year. And if you want to know just his outright stats, as a junior last year, he posted 67 catches, 1,267 yards, and 15 touchdowns. And if you really want the kicker, even though he's tiny, he's definitely not afraid to be a run blocker. PFF gave him a blocking grade of 64.9 last year. So this is a guy who, look, the Green Bay Packers historically have liked these larger, not necessarily slower, but not lightning fast receivers either. You know, the Allen Lazard types. Watson's just an athletic freak. But, you know, the Lazard types. Devontae wasn't exactly the fastest even. This is a guy who could come in and just bring a pure speed element. Now, he may not do a ton else. He may just run go routes, at least to start, because we know coming from Tennessee, he has a rather limited route tree. But this is a guy who, if you just want his speed on the field, it's worthwhile. The Packers have really strong rumored interest here for a reason. And it could be because they just don't have that on their roster right now. They don't have just a pure speed guy that they can just line up there and say, hey, you, run straight, and I'll throw it to you. Because Watson right now is their prototypical X. He's their one. He's their wide receiver one. He's going to have a lot of other responsibilities to do besides just the historic Jeff Janis role of run. But if they want that role back, Jalen Hyatt could be the guy. As could the next guy. You want to talk about a tiny body while being an overachiever? Let's take a look at Nathaniel Tank Dell from the University of Houston. He is little. 5'8", 165 pounds, 23 years old. Look, if the man scores a touchdown in the NFL, he's going to be a part of the itty-bitty touchdown committee. It's just the way it is. He's little, like little, 5'8", 165. And he comes from Houston's air raid completely spread offense, where even then, like against bigger corners or against man coverage, like press, he was neutralized a lot. But here's the thing. In spite of being neutralized that often, he still might actually be one of the smoothest receivers in the draft. His junior year in college, he posted 91 catches, 1,327 yards, and 12 touchdowns. His senior year, he posted 102 catches, 1,355 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Now compare that to Hyatt. Hyatt only has 1 year of elite production. Dell has 2. He does have that ridiculous production, but the thing that really might be worthwhile for Green Bay is, according to a lot of local reports, one of the things that Dell did best is he just found spots for his quarterback to find him. He posted a RAS score of 5.82, but it's kind of incomplete because it didn't include agility testing. And that actually might be where Dell would do really, really well because he's considered to have ridiculous explosive burst. I'm not pretending that they're going to line up 5'8", 160-pound Dell outside and he's going to run block. Like, no. But if the Green Bay Packers need someone to fill in that Tyler Ervin motion jet role, what Amari Rodgers was supposed to do, what Tavon Austin was supposed to do. If they want someone to be lightning quick, that they can get into matchups to get away from people, that can utilize burst and deception just by being out there and running around, Nathaniel Tank Dell, with his ability, with his very smooth route running, with his production, could be someone the Packers look to. One last player, and I'm probably going to say the last about him. Martez Mapu. The man just doesn't have a position. I mean, look, he's projected to go somewhere between like rounds 3 and 5. He's 6'3", 216 pounds, 23 years old. He played most of his snaps last year for Sacramento State as a slot corner. In fact, I think I have the number here. Nope, I didn't write that one down, but it was something like 80% of his snaps came from the slot. And so when he's being projected to the NFL, a lot of people don't know what to do with him because he's kind of a hybrid safety inside linebacker. I mean, they chose Tariq Carpenter last year in round 7, and he was drafted as a safety. They talked about maybe making him inside linebacker, then they kind of stuck him at safety, but his true role was special teams. And Martez Mapu has a lot of good things going for him. It's just that he's your classic tweener. Even from the slot position, he posted an 85.9 run defense grade. He attacks ball carriers just ferociously. He tackles well. And he's a very handy tool to have on special teams, having posted 250 collegiate special team snaps. But the big question that I still have, and the Packers, they've expressed interest. They've talked with him. We know that. Where's he going to play? He's projected to go somewhere between the 3rd and 5th, and I think if you're picking in that area, you got to have a spot. You got to have a position in mind. And that would be my predominant concern. So you have it. Now, those are not guys that I'm necessarily campaigning for Green Bay to draft. But they are guys that show different traits that Green Bay may be looking for that they'd be willing to overlook other thresholds to give them a peek. Will they be drafted? No, I'm not predicting that. Not by the Packers. But I could see it. I at least see an avenue to these guys not fitting the normal thresholds, not fitting the normal circumstances to still becoming Green Bay Packers. Now let's talk briefly about this Rodgers press conference things. First of all right. Aaron Rodgers saying today in his Jets press conference that the reason why he never spoke to Brian Gutekunst on the phone was, well, if you know, I have a beautiful home, and he's very lucky to have that home, and Wi-Fi reception isn't the greatest, so if you're going to call me, it's going to be on FaceTime. That's not how the interwebs works, man. Like, you can change calls to being on Wi-Fi. You know, there's things you can do. Not only that, but, you know, the voicemails would ding on your phone the second you actually got somewhere that had cell service and reception. But, you know, that's besides the point. Now, what's funny is in Brian Gutekunst's press conference that happened just a couple hours after, he just said, yeah, we're not going to get into that. But you could tell he was holding back some laughter at that quote. The other thing that I just wanted to point out is Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Look, I'm not looking to desecrate an all-time great, but he did exhibit a few things that are pretty typical Aaron Rodgers behavior, and one would be the cell phone thing. But then two, he, in spite of all of the Jets' Twitter belief over the last 2 days that Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing there for a long time, Rodgers would not commit past this year. He said he doesn't envision it being one and done, but he's not looking to commit. And then two, he actually said he's going to practice with them tomorrow. That's just mean, man. He said the team building is incredibly important at this time of year. Dude, you could have done that in Green Bay last year. Things might have turned out differently had you. Now, getting back to the Packers side of things, I will give full credit to Brian Gutekunst that he held down this press conference incredibly well. The Green Bay media came at him with a number of questions, obviously, and he really batted away the ones that he couldn't answer or the ones that he knew would get him into trouble if he decided to fire back. The big thing is, though, that he seemed like a guy who, when it comes to the draft, picking at pick 13, he seemed like a guy who's certainly has a plan, but he's open to anything if that plan goes awry. And I think that's exactly what you want your GM to be heading into round one. And then, of course, he did talk about the Packers only having $12 million in available cap space in the draft, taking probably about 10 of that. There are some avenues that the Packers can exercise later on this offseason if they need space. Now, he did not mention them by name, but you do have to figure that a Rashawn Gary extension would be one of them, as well as perhaps some other restructures just granted on a much, much smaller scale than what they've already exercised to the likes of Aaron Jones, David Bakhtiari, etc. So, there you have it. Folks, tomorrow's draft day. Yes. I'll probably be back like tomorrow, midday. I'm really going to try time for it. Some fill-in-the-blank draft stuff. Should just be a fun kind of little draft prep. And then, tomorrow night, I'm going to be going live for the first time. Yes, one of my good friends is going to be coming over, and we are going to do the draft together. Very, very excited for this. I'm going to be live throughout the duration of all of round one, assuming no problems. I've never gone live before. If you've been on this channel for a while, I've never gone live before. We've only been a channel for like this football season. So I ran some tests. It seemed to go okay, but I reserve the right to have all of the technology fail and have this not work. Bear that in mind. Okay. But the plan is that I'm going to be going live for the draft, probably all 7 rounds. So if you're looking for someone just to hang out with, come on by. Check the stream. I'll be there. Hope you had a fantastic day today. Hope you ran into nice employees everywhere, unlike me. And as always, go Pack Go.